The other Democratic email scandal: there's something going on. This mid-June, the Democratic National Committee, DNC, the national leadership and brain trust of the Democratic Party, and the cybersecurity company CrowdStrike announced that two different groups of Russian hackers working for two different Russian government intelligence agencies had been successfully hacking the DNC's servers. A week later, it was announced that the same Russians seemed to have penetrated the Clinton Foundation's network. The first group planted spying software on DNC servers last summer in June, giving it full access to DNC communication passing through DNC servers for almost a whole year. The DNC eventually suspected it had been hacked and called on CrowdStrike early in May of this year to assess the situation. Hillary Clinton's campaign headquarters in Brooklyn, NY, also seemed to have been attacked, but without a clear picture as to if data was stolen. CrowdStrike was able to drive out the hackers from the DNC servers earlier that June. The DNC only seems to have had standard cyber protections wholly incapable of protecting against focused and persistent hackers acting with the support of foreign governments and intelligence agencies. This first hacking group has been nicknamed Cozy Bear by CrowdStrike and is also known as APT-29, and seems to be the one that had previously hacked into unclassified email systems of the White House and State Department. The cleansing process for the State Department infection resulted in a few shutdowns throughout 2014 and 2015, at the height of negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program and international sanctions. This group is tied to the FSB, the modern version of the KGB, from which Putin emerged years ago, and is thought to be the better of the two hacking groups. The other group, labeled Fancy Bear and also known as APT-28, apparently hacked the DNC this April. It is thought to be run by Russia's military intelligence service, the GRU, and has hacked aerospace and military installations in the West, including in the US, Japan, and South Korea. The two hacking groups do not appear to have coordinated their efforts. Among the many pieces of information stolen by the hackers was the DNC's opposition research on Trump, stolen in the second April hack. The story basically faded from the public consciousness until a few days before the Democratic National Convention began, and one day after the Republican National Convention ended. On that Friday, the Quixotic activist organization known as WikiLeaks posted nearly 20,000 emails taken from the DNC servers. As is normal with WikiLeaks, the organization and its controversial founder and leader, Julian Assange, declined to offer any details on how they obtained the information, but experts suspect the Russian hackers were the ones who handed them over to WikiLeaks. The emails contain information that showed controversial hostility to Bernie Sanders and discussions as to how to put Sanders on the defensive on the part of 7 DNC staffers, including some senior ones. One staffer whose comments were felt to be the most offensive offered an apology. While no evidence was found on the emails that demonstrated a concerted DNC policy of working actively against Sanders in a material way, as one old college friend summed up to the incident on social media. So, let me get this straight. Some staffers from a national political committee expressed personal political opinions on their work email. Okay, gotcha. The revelations nevertheless led to a massive outrage, especially with Bernie Sanders supporters, a group already prone to conspiracy theories and victimized thinking and that often feeds off of outrage. Almost lost in the scandal about the DNC's impartiality coming into question was the issue of the timing of the leaks and who orchestrated them. Obviously, releasing this information the day after Trump's Republican National Convention ended and just at the beginning of the weekend before Clinton's Democratic National Convention is designed to provide maximum benefit to Donald Trump and the Republican Party while inflicting massive harm and embarrassment upon Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, especially after the embarrassment and disorganization of the divided and divisive Republican National Convention. Clinton and the Democrats were poised to begin their convention in a particularly strong position, with the email leak dominating the headlines all weekend and even Monday as the Democrats' convention began. Focus was driven away from Clinton's announcement of Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, and Bernie Sanders supporters began to stew in a rage that fomented and grew and boiled over the weekend and on Monday before the evening's convention proceedings. Because of the leak, the Democratic Party's raw wound was reopened and was in danger of becoming seriously infected at the very moment when it was the most important time to project party unity. The scandal threatened to blow up and ruin the Democratic National Convention, and possibly Hillary Clinton's chances of winning the presidency, and only some furious and frantic last-minute scrambling on the part of both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, as well as their campaigns and the staff of the DNC, including the new interim DNC chairwoman Donna Brazile, who had taken over only on Monday, averted what could have been a historic disaster for Clinton. The first and only tangible casualty thus far was DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a congresswoman from Florida, whose tenure of late was marred by difficulty. This DNC email leak was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, and Sunday, not even 48 hours after the WikiLeaks release and on the day before the convention, it was announced that she would be stepping down from her position at the DNC, but only after the convention. This did little to assuage the concerns of Democrats, the Clinton campaign, and especially Bernie Sanders supporters, especially as Wasserman Schultz made clear she still planned to gavel in and gavel out the convention and publicly address us it while in session. Reality seemed to set in Monday, when both Representative Wasserman Schultz and Sen. Bernie Sanders were booed loudly and continuously during daytime meetings, making clear the reality that more had to be done. Within a few hours, all talk of Representative Wasserman Schultz gaveling and appearing at the convention disappeared, and she agreed to stay away from the convention, as a face-saving gesture for her long years of hard work on behalf of the Democratic Party. The Clinton campaign named her an honorary chair of the campaign's 50-state program, a move that failed to placate some and was seen by many in and of itself as a controversial mistake. Only deft political maneuvering, both behind the scenes and on the convention floor during the actual convention, throughout the convention, up to and including Clinton's culminating acceptance speech on Thursday, prevented far worse damage that might have resulted in a spectacle of sustained chaos and potentially ruined the convention and Clinton's candidacy, as the capacity of Bernie Sanders supporters for disruption had been well demonstrated several months earlier at Nevada's Democratic Convention, which was closed out amid security forcing an end to the events as concerns for safety passed a red line. Also on Monday, as the Democratic National Convention's first day unfolded, it was learned that government investigators had tried to warn the DNC of a possible intrusion months before the DNC took substantive action to address it, raising questions as to how competently the hacking problem was handled, and that the FBI was now investigating the hack. In just a short period of time, WikiLeaks was able to do real damage to the Democratic Party, and nearly succeeded in doing far more damage. Was this all in the name transparency and fairness?